Did you know the American passport used to rank as one of the most powerful in the world, unlocking visa-free access to over 180 countries? Well, not anymore. In just the year 2025 under Trump's presidency, 10 countries have slammed their doors shut on U.S. travelers, some with little warning, others with a clear message. You're not welcome without a visa. And we're not talking about war zones or distant dictatorships. These are dream destinations, places you probably had on your bucket list. So, what happened? Why are nations that once rolled out the red carpet for Americans now putting up walls? Some say it's payback. Others call it a power shift. But one thing's for sure, the era of passport privilege is fading fast. Stick around, because the last country on this list sends a message that might shock even the proudest American traveler. Number 10. Brazil. Kicking off our list is Brazil. Land of carnival, samba, stunning beaches, and for years, visa-free fun for Americans. But as of 2024, that golden ticket just got revoked. If you're used to hopping on a flight to Rio or São Paulo without a second thought, it's time to rethink your travel plans. Brazil has officially reinstated visa requirements for U.S. citizens, ending a relaxed policy that had been in place since 2019. So, why the sudden change? One word: reciprocity. Brazil's government said it loud and clear. If Americans make us get visas to visit the U.S., we'll do the same. Fair enough, right? But behind the scenes, there's more to the story. Brazilian officials and locals have grown increasingly frustrated with a certain kind of American tourist. The kind who comes for the party, ignores local customs, and treats the country like a cheap Instagram backdrop. Now, the visa process includes proof of income, hotel reservations, and even interviews in some cases. It's not impossible, but it's definitely not a last-minute getaway anymore. Tourism operators in Brazil are already noticing the shift. With fewer spontaneous travelers arriving, local economies, especially in hotspots like Bahia and Rio, are feeling the drop. But for many Brazilians, the message was overdue. We're not just your playground. And let's be honest, if roles were reversed, Americans would expect the same kind of respect. So, if Brazil was your next vacation destination, plan ahead. And maybe approach it with a little more humility, because the days of casual access are over. Stay tuned, because the next country on this list was once a paradise for backpackers and nomads. Now, Americans need to prove they're even worth letting in. Number 9. Argentina. Argentina used to be one of the friendliest destinations for American travelers. Think vibrant Buenos Aires, breathtaking Patagonia, and a culture that embraced visitors with open arms. But in 2025, that vibe changed. Big time. Argentina has officially reintroduced visa requirements for U.S. passport holders. It wasn't loud, it wasn't flashy, but it was deliberate. And it speaks volumes. On the surface, the government cited security enhancements. But let's be real. This move is just as much about politics and pride as it is about paperwork. For years, Argentina was a haven for budget-conscious Americans, digital nomads, and remote workers. The strong U.S. dollar meant travelers could live large for cheap. But that wave of foreign influence came with a cost: rising prices, overcrowded neighborhoods, and locals feeling like strangers in their own cities. And while Americans enjoyed easy access to Argentina, Argentine citizens faced endless red tape and rejections trying to enter the U.S. That imbalance? It finally reached a boiling point. Now, Americans must apply in advance, show proof of finances, provide a travel itinerary, and in some cases even attend interviews. Suddenly, that weekend tango getaway? Not so spontaneous anymore. Some locals are even saying, "Let's see how you like it." It's not about hostility, it's about respect. And Argentina, like many countries on this list, is demanding a more equal relationship. Question for you. Do you think countries are justified in pushing back like this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. And hey, if you're into travel, world politics, or just understanding how power is shifting globally, hit that subscribe button. This is just the beginning. Up next, a country that straddles two continents, and it's no longer playing nice. Number 8. Turkey. For decades, Turkey was the ultimate meeting point of East and West, a place where you could sip Turkish tea under ancient minarets in Istanbul by day and party by the Bosphorus at night, all without much hassle at immigration. But as of 2024, the rules changed. Quietly at first, then unmistakably. Turkey no longer offers Americans the simple e-visa or visa on arrival that once made visiting so effortless. Now it's a longer wait, more paperwork, more scrutiny. Travel insurance is mandatory, background checks are tighter, and if you're not prepared, you're not getting in. Why? It's not just bureaucracy, it's symbolism. President Erdogan has made it clear Turkey is not interested in playing by Western rules anymore. Tensions with the US have been simmering for years over NATO, Syria, arms deals, human rights criticism. This new visa regime, it's a diplomatic chess move. But there's also something deeper going on. Turkish citizens often endure grueling interviews, high rejection rates, and months-long waits just to visit the United States. The emotional toll is real and widely talked about. Now, with the new policy in place, Turkey is sending a clear message. We see you, and we're done being quiet. What's ironic? Turkey's tourism industry needs the boost. Post-pandemic recovery has been slow, and American dollars go a long way here. But sometimes, a nation's pride outweighs short-term gains. So, if you're dreaming of wandering through Cappadocia's surreal landscapes or exploring the ruins of Ephesus, you still can. Just know that now, you'll need more than a plane ticket and a smile. The gateway between continents has redrawn its boundaries. Number 7. Thailand. Thailand used to be every backpacker's dream. Cheap street food, island hopping, night markets, and visa-free entry for Americans. What more could you ask for? Well, now you'll need a visa just to ask the question. As of 2024, Thailand shut the door on visa-free entry for US travelers. No more arriving on a whim and figuring it out from there. If you want to visit now, you'll need to apply in advance, show proof of funds, onward travel, a confirmed place to stay, and depending on your plans, biometric data too. So, what went wrong? Honestly, tourist abuse. Thailand became a hotspot for digital nomads and budget travelers who figured out how to game the system. Americans in particular were doing visa runs, leaving the country briefly just to re-enter and reset their 30-day stay. Some people lived in Thailand for years this way, without paying taxes or following the rules. The Thai government noticed, locals noticed, and it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. There's also a growing resentment toward tourists who treat Thailand like a playground. Loud, reckless behavior, a disregard for local customs, even illegal work. For many Thai citizens, the line was crossed a long time ago. The government is just finally catching up with policy. So now the rules are tougher, and they're being enforced. If you're heading to Thailand, don't assume it's business as usual. This isn't a vacation free-for-all anymore. It's a country setting boundaries. And whether you agree with the change or not, one thing is certain. The land of smiles has started smiling a little less at casual privilege. Number 6. South Africa. South Africa didn't make a big announcement. There were no fiery speeches, no public statements aimed at the US. But in early 2025, something quietly shifted. American travelers now need a visa. If you blinked, you might have missed it. But behind this silent policy change lies a deeper story. South Africa and the US have had a complex relationship. On paper, they're trade partners. But politically, they haven't always seen eye to eye on everything from climate change to international alliances. Over the years, those differences have grown more pronounced. Now, requiring a visa isn't just a policy update, it's a subtle recalibration of that relationship. For years, South Africa allowed Americans in visa-free, assuming mutual goodwill. But with South Africans facing a tough and often humiliating process to visit the US, long waits, high rejection rates, and intense interviews, the goodwill started to feel one-sided, so the policy changed. For Americans, the new visa process isn't impossible, but it's no longer effortless. Applications, background checks, proof of finances, and even biometric data are now required. It's a far cry from the carefree days of booking a last-minute flight to Cape Town or Johannesburg. The irony? South Africa depends on tourism, and American travelers are a big part of that. But what this move signals is that national dignity matters more than short-term economics. It's not a ban. It's not hostility. It's a reminder. You don't get special treatment just for showing up with a blue passport. And if you weren't paying attention to the global shift before, this might be the wake-up call. Number 5. Indonesia. Let's get one thing straight. Indonesia didn't just change its visa policy, they sent a message. Loud and clear. As of 2024, Americans can no longer breeze into the tropical paradise of Bali or hop across Indonesia's 17,000-plus islands without a pre-approved visa. No more arriving, flashing a smile, and getting stamped in. Now it's paperwork, pre-screening, and a waiting game. Why? Because Indonesia got fed up. Fed up with foreigners, especially Americans, overstaying, working illegally, disrespecting cultural norms, and treating sacred spaces like selfie backdrops. And sure, it wasn't just Americans doing it. But let's be real, they were often the most visible and the loudest. The Indonesian government introduced what they call the Tourism Fairness Act. Sounds neutral, right? But the reality is far from it. Applicants now have to submit financial proof, hotel bookings, onward travel, and even pass a character assessment. There's even talk of checking your online behavior before approving your visa. Yup, you read that right. Bali influencers were among the first to feel the heat. Visa rejections, blacklists, deportations. And for once, local authorities didn't back down. Because this wasn't about tourism, it was about respect. Too many people treated Indonesia like a budget-friendly escape with no rules. Now, the country is reclaiming its boundaries. So, if you're dreaming of sipping coconuts on a scooter ride through Ubud, better get your paperwork in order, and maybe leave the entitlement at home. Indonesia is done playing host to travelers who forget their guests. Number 4. Morocco. There's something timeless about Morocco. Winding alleyways in Fez, the call to prayer echoing over Marrakech, golden dunes stretching endlessly across the Sahara. It's a country that's always felt open, warm, vibrant, alive. But in 2025, the gates quietly began to close. For the first time in decades, Americans now need a visa to enter Morocco. The news didn't explode online. There were no dramatic headlines, just a new reality waiting for travelers at the border. Officially, it's called the National Sovereignty and Border Regulation Act, a sweeping immigration reform aimed at tightening entry for several nations, including the U.S. The reasoning? On paper, it's about security and controlled tourism. But underneath, there's a much deeper current. Moroccan officials have long expressed frustration with one-sided intelligence agreements. Translation: the U.S. wasn't sharing enough. That lack of trust trickled down into border policy. Then came the rise of digital nomads, many American, flooding Moroccan cities, driving up prices, and in some cases alienating local communities. Fez, Tangier, and even quiet desert towns began to feel less like Morocco and more like backdrops for travel content. So the country responded. Now, Americans must apply in advance, show financial proof, and meet stricter entry conditions. And while the souks still bustle and the tagines still simmer, the welcome is no longer automatic. This isn't just bureaucracy, it's a cultural stand. Morocco has always been proud, deeply rooted in its traditions, and this move says, we love visitors, but we value our identity more. The sands are shifting, and if you're planning to walk their paths, you'll need more than wanderlust to get in. Number 3. Malaysia. Malaysia didn't slam the door shut. It didn't raise its voice or point fingers. It simply turned the page. In 2025, Malaysia officially revoked visa-free entry for American travelers. A move that surprised some. But for those paying attention, it was a long time coming. On the surface, the reasons sound familiar. Security, mutual respect, better immigration control. But the real story is more personal and political. For years, Malaysians faced confusing and often frustrating visa hurdles when trying to visit the U.S. even for education, medical care, or family reunions. Rejections were common, so was silence. No explanation, no recourse. So Malaysia responded, not with outrage, but with precision. Now, U.S. passport holders must go through a full visa application process. That includes proof of financial stability, travel history, return tickets, and in some cases, a face-to-face interview. For short trips, it's a headache. For longer stays, it's a serious barrier. But for Malaysia, it's not about making things difficult. It's about dignity. This is a country rich in culture, history, and diversity. A country that's worked hard to build a global presence. And when its citizens are treated like second-class visitors abroad, it doesn't go unnoticed. Tourism numbers from the US have dropped, sure. But Malaysia isn't panicking. It's standing its ground. Because sometimes a visa isn't just a travel document. It's a mirror. And what many nations are seeing reflected back from the US visa system isn't respect. Malaysia just chose to reflect that image right back. Number 2. Kenya. Kenya didn't just change its visa policy, it made a statement. In early 2025, the Kenyan government announced that American citizens would no longer enjoy visa-free entry. From now on, U.S. travelers must apply through an e-visa system, submit background documentation, travel plans, and, most notably, prove the purpose of their visit. The tone was clear and unapologetic. A spokesperson from Kenya's foreign ministry said it bluntly. "We are tired of unequal treatment. It's time Americans experience what our citizens go through when trying to visit the U.S." This wasn't just about tourism. It was about justice. For years, Kenyan citizens faced uphill battles securing U.S. visas, lengthy interviews, high rejection rates, and a system that often felt cold and imbalanced. The frustration had been growing quietly. Now, it's been translated into policy. And Kenya isn't alone. This move aligns with a larger initiative within the African Union, where multiple nations are calling for reciprocity and respect in global travel agreements. The era of blind acceptance is over. For travelers, this means the days of breezing into Nairobi or heading off on safari with zero prep are done. Tourist visas are capped at 30 days, extensions are rare, and violations, automatic blacklisting. But this isn't about closing the door. It's about making sure the doors swing both ways. Kenya still welcomes guests, but it expects them to understand. Mutual respect isn't optional, it's overdue. Number 1. United Arab Emirates. The UAE is known for its luxury, ambition, and futuristic skylines. Dubai, in particular, became the go-to playground for American travelers. Shopping in air-conditioned malls by day, desert safaris by night, and no visa needed to enter. It was almost too easy. Not anymore. In 2025, the UAE officially removed the United States from its visa-free access list. Americans must now apply for a visa in advance, a process that can take weeks, requires detailed documentation, and includes background checks. Why the change? It's not just policy, it's positioning. For years, Emiratis have faced strict visa procedures when visiting the U.S., lengthy approvals, fingerprinting, and frustrating rejections. The UAE, a rising force in finance, tourism, and diplomacy, is no longer willing to play the underdog. This is more than tit for tat. It's a strategic shift. The Gulf region is asserting its independence from old power dynamics. With new alliances forming across Asia, Africa, and beyond, the UAE is signaling to the world, we don't need anyone's approval to stand tall, not even America's. Business travelers are frustrated. Influencers are stunned. Tourists are scrambling to adapt. But the UAE isn't flinching. It's not a ban. It's a message, delivered with elegance and intention. Your power passport doesn't guarantee VIP status anymore. For Americans used to skipping the line, this is the clearest sign yet. The global balance is shifting. And the velvet rope? It's no longer pulled aside just because you're holding a little blue book. The world is changing, and so is the way it sees the American traveler. Which country on this list surprised you the most? Drop your take in the comments. No filter, no fluff. If this opened your eyes, check out our previous video. It goes even deeper into how global power is shifting. And hey, we pour hours into every video. Your one click to subscribe means the world to us.